Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf HaYomi, BECHOROS Daf Nun Aleph. We begin at the Mishnah, which is around 10 lines from the top. So as we discussed yesterday, Pidin Haben is 5 sela, but you can pay it out in cash or using Shava Kesef, something of value, something of equal value. But there are some exceptions in terms of what material you can offer in lieu of payment. Says the Mishnah, Ain point, you cannot redeem your firstborn son, not using your slave, can't give him a slave instead. Nor can you give him a loan document, so a fellow owes you money, he's going to transfer that loan to the kohen. That doesn't work. Nor can you give him a piece of property as payment. Nor can you give him hekdesh. The Gemara will ask later, what business do you have giving hekdesh? Not even yours. Okay, we'll get to that. Suppose he hands the kohen a shtar, an IOU, a personal shtar, kasav the kohen. So the father writes to the kohen, shu chayiv, loy heiseloy. I owe you 5 sela. Okay, chayiv liten loy. So he has to pay it out, as per this document. But really, you have to redo it. Ubnoy eni padi. His son is not deemed redeemed. We'll see in the Gemara exactly why. So now he has to give the kohen 10. Therefore, if the kohen wants to be a nice fellow, he can refund him $5. Imratza kohen little matan. Kohen wants to refund him $5. Bim matan as a gift. Rasha, you can do that. Now let's say a fellow sets aside the 5 sela. By the time it got to the kohen, it was gone. Who's responsible? So basically, it's a fundamental question in terms of what's essentially the pidyon process. Is it the setting aside money, or is it delivering it to the kohen? Hamafresh pidyon b'nei v'avad. Set aside the money for his son, and it went missing. Chaya b'achar yusa. He has to look after it. He's responsible. It's not done until the kohen receives it. Shnamar yelacha. The Torah in relation to Aaron and the Kehanim. I'm going to give you, right, the pidyon upade sifta. So yelacha. When is it a valid, completed redemption? Yelacha, when it's in your hands. Until then, it's not complete. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of the Mishnah. That you can do pidyon with pretty much anything except for 4 items: avodim, shtaros, karkois, and hekdeshes. Masisin like a Rebbe, the Mishnah, which limits it and excludes these 4 items, is inconsistent with Rebbe's opinion, who allows it. The Sani Rebbe Aimer Bakol Paidin B'chara, we use any material to do pidyon except for documents. Chutz min hashtaros, because a shtar doesn't really have inherent value. A loan document that you have on your borrower only gives you access, allows you to collect, doesn't have inherent value. So that's out. But otherwise, everything else is in, including avodim, etc. My time with the Rebbe, what's Rebbe based on? Darish ribuye umiyut. He works with the ribuy miyut system to understand the psukim. Hence, he arrives at this result as follows. The pasuk reads like this: Uptuyav v'ben chodesh tifta. Uptuyav means you can redeem it basically with anything. It's a very broad term. Riba, anything works. Then later it says be'erkecha. It specifies kesev chamesha shekalim. Money only, miyat, that limits it to money. But then we go back to tifta, right? So the ptuyav miben chodesh tifta, the second tifta is a riba. It's again a broad, inclusive term. So it's formulated like this: riba umiyat v'riba, inclusive, exclusive, and again inclusive. Ribanka, pretty much everything is included. My Rabbi, what are we including? Everything. Rabbi Kamali, any material works as payment. But you have to exclude something because of the miyut, or my miyut. So what are we going to exclude? The most unlikely candidate. Miyut shtaros, documents, which have no inherent value, so we presume that's what the Torah meant to exclude. Hence, according to Rabbi, everything's in except for shtaros. But the Rabbanon, which are the authors of our Mishnah, the Rabbanon Darshi, they work with the Klal system, a different type of system, which ends up giving you a more narrow formula. So again, based on this pasuk of Duyim ben Chodesh, basically you can use anything. Klal, that's a general term. Anything works. Then we have Be'erkach Kesev, Chamesh Shkol, that's a prat, specific, only money. Then we go back to Tifta, which is Chazal B'Kol, back to general, which produces the formula of Klal Prat to Klal. And in order for something to be considered, it has to be similar. It has to have similar characteristics, similar features. It has to share criteria with the example cited in the pasuk. Okay, now practically only include something which is similar to the specific example, which is the money. How do you define the money? What's unique about that money? Ma'aprat mefurish. What's specific about that money? First of all, it's movable. Money can be moved around. And it has inherent value. Anything which features those criteria works. As opposed to property, which is not movable. As opposed to slaves, which are halachically regarded like an estate, like property. There's a heked connected the karkois. They're out as well. As opposed to documents, they're movable, but it doesn't have actual value. So all these are out. Okay, hence we have these varying results based on their respective approaches in formulating the psukim. Rabbanan work with klal prat to klal, which ends up a very narrow formula, excluding everything which is dissimilar in a sense to the money. So the avadim, the shtaros, the karkais are out, whereas Rebbe works with ribu or miut, pretty much all inclusive except for the most unlikely candidate, which are shtaros. Is that so? Rebbe ribu miut darish? Is Rebbe based on ribu and miut? Is that his approach to the psukim? Rebbe, we find elsewhere that Rebbe works with klali prati darish. He works with the other system, martzeya. When it comes to the martzeya, where they bore the ear of the kohen, of the Eved, wanted to stay on. And there's a question in terms of what tool to use. The pasuk speaks about a martzeya, which was a specific tool used for boring the sanya. So the pasuk reads like this. It says, "V'lokachta es hamartzeya v'nasata ba'oznai." Martzeya would indicate martzeya only, and the other martzeya only that's legally acceptable. Menayin l'rabis hasoil. What about some other sharp, like a toothpick or something? Hasira, thorn, machat, a needle, a some sort of drill, a machtev, some sort of writing instrument. Talmud loymar. Yeah, it's all in l'kachta. L'kachta means l'rabis, kol davar. Shenol kach biyad, anything you can handle, anything you can pick up, yeah, any tool. Divrei reis riyah. So according to him, everything's in. But you have to exclude something, because martzeya is a miut. So first we'll explain that you exclude something which is the most unlikely candidate. Some sort of, Rashi says some sort of agent, some sort of medicine, some sort of acid. But otherwise, if it's a tool that you lift and you actually handle, that's included. Rabbi Omer, no, it's too broad. We have to limit it because it's going to be learned as a klal prat to klal. Rabbi Omer martzeya is teaching us ma martzeya miyuchad shel mateches. What defines the martzeya? It's a metal utensil. Of course, mateches. Likewise, you can only use a metal utensil for this purpose. I mean, the question was, what's this disagreement based on? The answer is depending on your approach to the psukim, to the drasha. Rabbi is based on darish klali prate, klal prat. So when we have a klal prat, you have to compare to the specific item, mentioned in the pasuk, which is the martzeya. What defines it? It's mateches, metal. Only metal is valid. Rabbi Yisrael read the Darish Ruyamuti. He works with the Ribimut system, which ends up giving you a broader allowance, right? Because we have Lakachta, which is broad. We have Martzeya, which is specific, and we have V'nosata Ba'oznai, which is again broad. So according to Rebbe, it's Klal Prat to Klal. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's Ribimut V'riba. Okay, bottom line is, Rebbe relates to Klal Prat, whereas we're suggesting in our sugya that he relates to Ribimut. How do we reconcile? Ba'alma, typically Rebbe Kloli Prati Darish. Typically Rebbe works with Klal Prati system. But here it's different. Here it's different. Why? Let's take a look at that pasuk again. Where are the generalities? Ufiduyov, general. Ben Chodesh Tifta is again general. But these two generalities are lined up with each other. They're not sequenced the way a typical Klal Prat to Klal is sequenced. Usually it's Klal, general, then Prat, and then Klal. Here it's Klal, and then comes the reference to the specific, to the money. So it's a little bit out of sequence. Hence, Rabbi holds you cannot learn it as a Klal Prat to Klal. It has to be properly sequenced. Otherwise, it could only be studied as a Ribi Umiyat system. Ba'alma Rabbi Kloli Prati Kadosh. Typically, Rabbi works with the Klal Prati system. But here it's different. The Tanat of Rabbi Shmuel, as we learned Rabbi Shmuel Beis HaMedrash, Rabbi Shmuel, he relates to a different topic altogether regarding the kosher signs on the water creatures, where it says B'mayim, it says B'mayim again, Shtei Pamim. And then we have the specifics later, the streams and the rivers. So that's not a Klal Prat. Is a Klal Prat? That's not Klal Prat to Klal, because it's not sequenced as such. Because you have the two generals next to each other, Ela Ribi Umiyut. You can only apply it as a Ribi Umiyut, which is a different type of system, which works even when it's out of order. Okay, so typically Rebbe works with Klal Prat to Klal, but here it doesn't work. Hence, his approach to the Psukim, different than the Rabbanah, which yields him a different result. Allows the Avadim, the Karkois, and the Hekdeshus to be used for Pidin Ben, except for Shtaris. Rabbanah disagree. No. Even in our type of case, even when it's out of sequence, it can still work as a Klal Prat to Klal, because Amrinan Bar Rav, as they say in Eretz Yisrael. Just relocate rearrange the Psukim, so to speak. Whenever, in fact, that you find the two klolis in close proximity to each other, hasmuchim zelazeh, such as b'mayim, such as uftuyev and tifte, no problem. Hatel prat b'neim, transport the specific, the prat, bring it over, insert it between them like a sandwich, v'dunam, and now you learn it as a b'chlal prat. Hence, their result, which is that klal prat to klal teaches that the pidyon material has to be similar to the money in many respects. Metaltal gufei mammon, as opposed to karka, which is not metaltal. Avadim go together with karka, and shtoris, which are not gufei mammon, and all are excluded. What else is excluded? You can't use hegdish material. Of course not. It's not yours. Pshita, of course. It's not yours. Why would I think you can use it for bidin ben? Ema, rather, return to the base. Mishnah means if you have hegdish that you want to redeem from hegdish, okay, so hegdish has a property, you want to redeem it. What form of payment is needed? So there as well, you're limited. You can't use these items, such as karka, avadim, and shtoris. And Rashi brings that it's based on the psukim, materis kohanim, which yields a very similar result to the parameters of pidyon haben. Continues the Gemara. Kasav l'kohen. So the father of the newborn issues a personal note, an IOU note to the kohen. Shu chayev lo chamisha slayim, that he owes him 5 selot for the pidyon of his son. What happens? Chayev litin lo. He has to pay up. But, as the Mishnah says, he owes him another 5. It doesn't count. Why? Amar Ula. The truth is that Devar Torah b'nai Padoy, Mina Torah, of course, it is considered a redemption. Look, Shaitan, when he pays out the $5. So what's wrong? Why does he have to repay another 5? Umay Taima b'nai Padoy. It's midrabanan. Gzeira. There's a concern. Because, as we just learned earlier, you can't be paid with a shtar. So let's say somebody owes you money. You can't take that loan document and forward it to the kohen and say, look, you take over the loan and let it be in lieu of paying you directly. That doesn't work. Payment via a third-party shtar is not considered. But here it's different. Here I'm owing you directly. I'm giving you a shtar and I'm paying you up. Chacham were concerned that people might confuse the two. People might erroneously conclude, just like this one works, Poitim Shtar, you can take a third-party shtar as well and use it for pidyon. And therefore, even though it's his personal IOU, and even though he's paying him for it, he's actually paying him the $5. With the Rabbanon, he has to redo it. But we have a brisa, Tani Tana, a Chacham, presented a brisa, Kamei, before the Rav Nachman, which says, B'nai Pada l'kshiyitin. It is considered a repidyon when the father actually pays out the IOU. Note, Amalei Rav Nachman, he says, no, that brisa reflects an individual opinion, but that's not the consensus. Amalei Rav Nachman, Zu Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yisrael Yehuda, Stim. This brisa was really it's an anonymous brisa, which was stated in accordance to Rabbi Yisrael Shita. V'amla, some say a different name, Zu Divrei Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Stimta. So the anonymous brisa was aligned with that opinion. That's his individual position, but the consensus halacha is, as per our Mishnah, that you have to redo the pidyon for the concern just discussed. Aval chacham imrim eimrei padi vilchas, and that's the maskana, that's the conclusion. Eimrei padi lefichach. Ultimately, he's going to give him $10. Kohen perhaps might decide, you know what? Maybe it's only right to give him back $5. Lefichach ratza kohen. Yeah, litan le matana rashav. The kohen decides to turn around and refund him the money. That's okay. Now, what that teaches us is that really every kohen is allowed to do the same with the pidyon money that he gets. Because if that were not so, then this wouldn't either be allowed. So although here he's getting more, you would think, okay, you can but we treat it like the actual pidyon. With the Rabbanon, we say you have to redo it, and the second pidyon is considered the actual pidyon. And still the kohen can return that to him? That's indicative of a general halacha, that every kohen, on every pidyon, can just turn around and give back to the father. And, we don't say it wasn't really a serious, it wasn't, a legitimate, pidyon. He was expecting it back. It wasn't, given with a full heart. No. Father can give him the money, and the kohen can decide to turn around and give it back to him. It's not an issue. And in fact, Tanina, this Mishnah of ours, which teaches us as such, is a raya lahad tan rabbana to the following brisa, which likewise allows the kohen to refund the father his pidyon money. Tan rabbana. So we have three halachas. The third one is what we're going to focus on. So the first thing is nesane lasar kehanim basachas yatsa. The 5 salayim. Must it be delivered to a single kohen? No. You can have a lineup of 10 kohanim and give each one a piece of the pie. Nesanai, lasar kehan basachas, yatsa. If he does a pidyon with 10 kohanim in one shot, that's okay. But zachas yatsa, likewise. He can choose to do it, one after the other. Here's $1, right? Tomorrow another $1. It works, because ultimately, he delivered his 5 salayim. So, it doesn't matter how many kohanim are involved, right? Yatsa. Doesn't matter if it's happening over a couple of days, yatsa. Right? So, basachas is yatsa, b'dechazech is yatsa. And here goes. Natali v'chzir la yatsa. The kohen takes the money and delivers it back to the father. It also works. Fact is, the kohen received it. He was zeicha, and now he decided to give it back to the father as a gift. In fact, that's what Rabbi Tarfon, who was a kohen, that's what he would do. He would take the money and give it back. The Chacham heard about this practice. They said, wow, Rabbi Tarfon fulfilled this halacha that you're allowed to. He's allowed to give it back. Halacha zu sounds like this is the only halacha he kept. Halacha zu, this is the only halacha that he observed. Sulay, nothing else. Ella, rather, kiyam ze af halacha zu. The chiddush was even This halacha, which entails, giving back money which is rightfully his, even that he did. And the Parshim explained what the Chacham meant to say is that Rabbi Tava's intent was to teach. By his very action, he was illustrating this halacha. He was demonstrating that, in fact, you can do that. Right? As per the great Rabbeim, whose every nuance is a teaching moment. Now, Rabbi Chanina, who is also a Kohen, have a ruggle of a shakel, so his practice was also to take the money, and he'd give it back. One day, he sees the father pacing back and forth. After having done the pidyon, he's standing around, and he notices this fellow, the father, he was walking back and forth in front of him. Amalei, he says, "Oh, you have plans?" He says, "It doesn't look like you actually gave it to me with a full heart. You were expecting it right back. Lo gamris, you haven't completed. But he wasn't giving it to me, meaning you didn't do it fully. Midam, a thing bish, bad, an improper thing you've done. Avdis, it's a girsa avdis, meaning your pidyon wasn't really a serious pidyon, it wasn't for real. Hilkach ein so your child is not redeemed, you have to redo it. It's only allowed when you give it wholeheartedly. The kohen, by his good grace, decides to return it to you. But if initially you're expecting it back, you didn't really give it fully, it's not a pidyon. Okay, one more halacha in the Mishnah. Hamafresh pidyon b'nei avad chai b'achar yusai. He set aside the money before it was delivered to the kohen. It went missing. Who's responsible? The father, because the process is not deemed done and over with until it's delivered to the kohen. Minol, how do we know? So actually in the Mishnah, we already cited a pasuk where Hashem grants the pidyon to the kohen, yelacha, padei sifta, right? We learned that the pidyon only happens when yelacha, when it actually is received by the kohen. But let's see another pasuk here. Minol armshim alakish. Asya, we have a gzera shava, erech. Me'erechin, we learn from erechin. So a fellow, pledged the value of a fellow Jew, and there's a set rate in the Torah based on age and gender, right? And as Rashi points out, based on the Gemara back in Chulin, until you actually give it, until it's delivered, it's not fulfilled. You're responsible for that money. And likewise, over here by the pidyon, it says Ftuyav miben chodesh tifta be'erkecha. So we compare erkecha to erchin, and this Gzeir Shava teaches us to apply the same responsibility clause by pidyon haben money, such as by erchin. Erech me'erchin. Rav Dimi Amar Rav Yenis on a different Gzeir Shava. Chal b'char b'necha tifta v'lo yiroi pon reikam. So do pidyon, and don't come empty-handed, meaning deliver it to the kohen. And we learn from Gzeir Shava of Yolaf Reikam. It says Reikam here. It says Reikam me'olas riyah, by the oila that one offers when he, upon visiting the Beis Hamikdash on Yom Tov. And just like over there, where it says Reikam, you're certainly responsible until it's actually, processed in the mizbech, like on the other obligatory carbon, right? Ma'olas riyah, just like the olas riyah chai b'achar yusai, the owner is responsible for it until it's done. Pidyon haben, likewise, pidyon haben chai b'achar yusai, the father is fully responsible until it's delivered to the kohen. Ask the Gemara, why seek new sources, new psukim? Don't we already have a pasuk in the Mishnah about this chiyuv achrayus? Maskav l'rapapa. Kra, you're bringing one pasuk l'kra to support another pasuk which has already been stated in the Mishnah. What for? Elam rapapa. You're right. This halacha of achrayus by pidyon haben money is in fact based on the pasuk of the Mishnah, hakatani taima, which is yelacha. Only once it gets to you, Rabbi Kohen, ach padei sifta, then it's considered redeemed. Our Gemara is referring to a different question. Rish Lakish was coming at Reish Itman, the beginning of the Mishnah, which we learned a couple of days ago. What happens if the son passes away? Lo yaleinu. It's past 30 days. The obligation already kicked in, but he's no longer here with us. Likewise, if the father passed away after the obligation was active, what happens there? Meis lachar shleishim yom. So if the son passed away after he was already 30 days old, even though the father hadn't yet paid for it, he hadn't done pidyon, he has to give it today. So you're chiddush. It's baffling almost, right? Pidyon you would think is only if the child's around. No, once the chiyuv was applied to the child, that neshama has to be addressed, that the pidyon has to happen. Minolan, how do we know this is so? On this we have Oram Shem Malakish. Asya Erech Erech Me'erechin. We apply the Gzeir Shava and we compare it to Erechin. Just like over there. Let's say a person pledges the Erech of so-and-so and that person passes away. You think, that's it? You're off? No. Rashi brings the Teres Kohanim, Yerechen Nu, Afilu Meis, even though he's passed away, you still proceed with the Erechen. Likewise over here. Even though the newborn is no longer with us, you have to complete the process, you have to do the pidyon. And satisfy this obligation which had been upon this child. It's interesting how the Gemara compares Erechen to pidyon. You would think there's room to distinguish between the two because, Erechen is a personal obligation. He pledged a certain amount that happens to be that it's pegged based on, gender and age elements within that person. But that's just sort of a means of articulating the specifics, the numbers of the pledge. So ultimately, it's my obligation. What difference does it make if that person's around or not? Versus pidyon haben, which you would perceive as a pidyon on this child who's not here, is not here. What's the point of being pidyon? It's interesting. David Palmschlit here in the Mikhail Toronto showed me the other day from the Alshach. Interesting. He says that the Erechin is not just a pledge. Erech is like a kedusha that's chal that gets applied to that person, and you have to sort of redeem the kedusha, redeem the person by paying out the Erechin, the value of that person as per the Torah, as per the the rates and the Torah. So in fact, it's very similar to pidyon haben. Right? And if we see that by Erechin, you have to proceed even though the person's not here anymore. Because once you've pledged, you've sort of applied that kedusha and it has to be addressed and satisfied. Likewise, pidyon haben. The pidyon, the redemption process proceeds even after. The child is no longer with us. Okay, so that's the first makar. Erech Me'erechin, Rav Dimi Rav Yenesan from the other pasuk. V'chal b'char b'necha tifte. And we compare to the Oilas Riyah, Malahalon, Yoshin Chayav, just like over there, the Yoshin Chayavin. Alright, so let's say a fellow, came to Beis Hamikdash, he was going to bring an Oila, and then he passed away. The inheritors have to proceed from the father's assets, so the Chiv is still applicable. Avkan, Yoshin Chayav, likewise by pidyon haben, they have to proceed, right, even after the child's death or the father's death. The Chiv has already been activated and must be satisfied even at this late stage in the game. Okay, so in conclusion, what did we learn today? What materials can be used for pidyon haben? Pretty much anything, except. So according to the Chachamim, which is the Shita now Mishnah, except for Avodim, Shtoros, Karkoros, and Hekdeshos. Hekdeshos, actually, the Gemara said, is a different topic. So Hekdeshos as well cannot be redeemed using these materials. Whereas according to Rebbe, anything except for Shtoros, and it's based on different perspectives, based on the Klal Prat Klal approach, which is the Chachamim's approach. It has to be davar matatel gufei moment as opposed to karka, as opposed to avodim, as opposed to shtoros. Rebbe works with ribu miut. Everything's in except for shtoros. A fellow forwarded an IOU. He owes that money plus another 5 midrabanan. In general, a kohen can return the money to the father, provided it was given wholeheartedly. And we have a chiddush that even after Misa, the chiv of pidyon haben is still alive and well. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rab.